Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and today you already know by the title and thumbnail what the matchup is. It's going to be Black Yellow Luffy versus Dofy. If you see in the meta share that they've got over here, there's 3 Doflamingos within the field and 1 Black Yellow Luffy left in the Wave 2 finals here in OP10. Very excited to get into this top 4 match. I've heard a lot of interesting things about this Black Yellow Luffy within this tournament. Going to see if some of their tech cards that they have that are somewhat unique to this tournament, I would say. I don't think I've seen these tech cards in any of the tournaments that we've watched up to this point, or even many other people talk about these different options that this person has placed in their deck. But it has to stand up against the BDIF, and we'll see if Black Yellow Luffy can do it. Just a couple things, though, before we get into it, some business stuff. First, I am not the official live stream. If you want to see the official live stream, feel free to click the link in the description below. That's where you can check this out, and the finals as well, if you want to go check it out for yourself, and also don't want to hear me yet. But for those of you that maybe want to stay, we will post the finals tomorrow, don't you worry. But also, we've got to hear a quick word from our sponsor in this video. I've been collecting in trading card games for many years, and especially with One Piece, I only use one app to be able to track which cards that I have inside my collection because, well, I can't hold all of the SRs, commons, uncommons, whatever, whenever I go to locals. OP TCG DEX is the ultimate companion app for all things One Piece trading card game. Whether you're collecting cards, building decks, or looking to level up your game, this app has you covered. Listen, there's a lot of perks within this app on your phone. If you're like me and don't remember what amounts of cards you have, there's a really easy filter system within the app. Alongside logging not only English and Japanese cards, you can also check the prices straight from TCG Player or UUT. You can also build your decks right there on your mobile device and then export them to the simulator later. And honestly, that's just scratching the surface of this app. You can download this app for free on both the App Store and Google Play Store. But you can also get the Pro version of this app free for 30 days just by using my code Atrocious. Listen, when you get the Pro version, the app offers such cool perks, such as getting extra deck slots, taking notes on your cards or decks, an excellent feature when you go out and play in like local tournaments, online tournaments, things of that nature, or maybe even sim games. And you also get ad-free browsing, which, I mean, how can you go wrong with ad-free browsing? As well as a currency converter and also card market prices. The download link and instructions to redeem your trial are in the description below. Don't miss out now. Check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. So Doflamingo and Black Yellow Luffy really cementing about the idea of making your leader more than a 5,000 power leader, right? Being able to manipulate your life and cycle different characters on the field every single turn to constantly put you at 9,000 is such a strong effort, right? And a good deck, as we said in our OP10 meta prediction list at the beginning of the format. But going into the Doflamingo hand, he's got a Jozu Gravity Blade, Teach, Sengoku, and Buggy. This could be an interesting hand, I would say. Not a lot of 7 Warlords of the Sea type cards that you flip into, right? All of those 4 costs, but with Gravity Blade being such a good card, also Marshall D. Teach being a great card, could set yourself up, especially if that Sengoku finds something. The Black Yellow Luffy has a couple babies in the Luffy and Sabo. The Luffy can evolve into that Rocket Luffy, very good within this matchup, as well as Kuzan and the Three Brothers Bond event that they've gotten there. So looks like it could be a very interesting and even matchup, I would say. Doflamingo is going first on here. This allows the Black Yellow Luffy player to stay on the even curve, right? Hit Moria as soon as possible, especially on your 10 Dawn turn. And the Doflamingo, you know, going first gets to play this 1-drop Sengoku. So looking at that top 5, going to be looking for a 7 Warlords of the Sea type card. Has a couple of them in there, 2 Jinbeis and 1 Law, immediately grabbing the Law, not really thinking about the Jinbeis too hard, which is very interesting, right? Jinbei, a great card within this deck and an archetype. If you put 2 of them away, it's likely you're not going to see one of them again. So is going to go ahead, this Black Yellow Luffy, after drawing one of their tech cards, that promo Sabo there, that schoolboy Sabo I like to call it, is going to go ahead and play that 2-drop Monkey D. Luffy. Now, if the Trafalgar Law does come out that they just utilized, right, they just showcased from the Sengoku, that's fine, because the Luffy is just going to come right back into hand. Really forces the Doflamingo to choose if that's exactly what they want to do, and that's exactly what they're doing. I'm going to put that Sengoku back, put the Luffy back. On a 2-Dawn turn, you're not really doing anything else anyways a lot of times as the Black Yellow Luffy, so is able to go ahead and just kind of do the same thing. Taking that life though and knocking out that trigger is going to take out Teach, a very important card within this deck and matchup, right? Teach being on the field is so nice, it allows you to manipulate your top deck, right? Now kind of forces him to use the buggy if he wants to know exactly what his top deck is in his leader effect, right? Because if you see the Jozu and Gravity Blade and also the Sengoku, there's a couple cards in this deck that are not 7 Warlords of the Sea type that work off your leader effect. So just going ahead and swinging 5 at the Law, doesn't want to give anything up, is just going to leave that guy alone, probably because of the Gecko Moria in his hand right now, and we'll see exactly what he's got going on at this point after playing down that baby once again, and we'll see if he plays down the other baby in that Sabo. You don't want to play down too many babies, right? And he is going to, I was going to say, because a Gravity Blade putting them both at the bottom definitely does not feel good if you are the Black Yellow Luffy, but is going to be able to have something on the field if he ever manipulates the top of his life. But we move on into the Doflamingo's 5-Dawn turn. Does find a Jinbei right here, so Jinbei could be nice. Not having Teach anymore though does definitely hurt, especially because Teach, while playing a 4-drop character, would be so good on this turn. So an excellently timed trigger for that Black Yellow Luffy is going to start off with a Sengoku. The Sengoku going to find once again a 7 Warlords of the Sea type card, maybe looking for another Law. Has a couple other options like the Dracul Mihawk if they want to grab that, and Law is going to be the option. Probably just going to keep putting these babies back into the Black Yellow Luffy's hand. Say, you know what? I don't want these guys to stay on the field and have them be free bodies to evolve into. I want you to pay Dawn in order to be able to evolve into these guys. So does have 4 more Dawn left in this turn. Could just play the Trafalgar Law raw, right, and would keep it active. Couldn't swing at it, but also pick up your Sengoku to be able to use in a future turn to maybe grab another card. Sengoku and Law, excellent cards, and looks like Jinbei is going to be the option with this Law. Definitely a great play, right? Instead of what I proposed earlier with the 1 Law, now you have 2 5K bodies on the field. So is definitely going to pick up the Sengoku for the Law's effect, and is going to force the Black Yellow Luffy to put the Luffy back in hand, right? I do like putting the Luffy back in hand. You already saw the Egghead Luffy, and so another Egghead Luffy could come out of the works and make it really easy if that baby is on the field. So do like that play. Is going to go ahead, swing 5 and take that life. Going to be a Teach, which is nice, and go in and use 3 Brothers Bond. Going to be looking at that top 5 for a piece, maybe thinking about something like the Fist Luffy. What are we calling this Luffy again? The Luffy from starter deck 13, right? This is a great card to have on the field if your opponent is using kind of a starve tactic, to where you can not only draw life and also put yourself down to 0, manipulate when you can exactly do that, but also this Luffy gains 2,000 power whenever it does do that, and gaining 2,000 power is very nice, especially in this matchup, because an 8,000 power body swinging at a lot of 5s and 6s is going to command a lot of cards in battle. So we'll see exactly what he does on this. Is thinking about playing another 3 Brothers Bond that he has kind of accumulated a couple of these, and is going to go ahead and play down Kuzan. Kuzan, a great card at this stage of the game in my opinion, allows it to replace itself as a card, and also if you do get to swing with it, right, if Jozu's come on the field, Jozu, a very popular card in Doflamingo, you be able to -4 on that Jozu and be able to Rocket Luffy, or Egghead Luffy, I guess is what I should say, thinking of Cardi Kaizoku's tweet the other day, is going to be able to pop that Jozu with the Egghead Luffy. So off that Three Brothers bond, finding another baby Luffy, going to be nice. You love having the baby Luffys if you're going to be using both of the Luffys that you have available to evolve into. And we're going to pass it off into the Doflamingo's turn. Have we passed it off into Doflamingo's turn at this point? Have we passed? Or did the Doflamingo take... I think the Doflamingo actually took their Dawn and immediately swung. We didn't really see it on camera, or I was too busy yapping. My apologies. But we're trying to resolve this 5,000 power swing. You do have to be wary, though, as the Black Yellow Luffy. One of the strong points about this deck is being able to boost up so much, but if you're not super familiar with the deck and its matchups, and ultra familiar with this deck, it takes a ton of practice. You take too much life too early, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So you got to be really wary about what kind of swings you're taking, and ends up taking that first leader swing. Does find a Flampe, which is not a trigger, but a nice 2K to be able to get you to that 0 life that you want to hit later in the game. So is going to go ahead, play a Sengoku. Look at the top 5 yet again. This Sengoku putting in a ton of work, having 3 searches so far. Does find a Boa Hancock blocker and also an Edward Weevil. Is thinking about picking up the Edward Weevil. Does have a Law in here as well as a Martial D Teach. I think you already have Teach in your hand, so you probably don't need to go grab that. Probably the Weevil is going to be a nice body to have, right? Even though it's a 4 cost and can be popped by that Egghead Luffy from OP07, it is going to be able to replace itself in your hand, draw a card, but also be a 6,000 power body. And Boa Hancock is just another great 6,000 power body to get as a blocker. So we'll see if he ends up playing this one down. Could maybe go in with a Teach, and no, is going to just go in with the Jozu. Establish the Jozus early, right? Get this Kuzan off the field. Try to do your best to keep this guy off. Has another Jozu for the following turn, but also a Gravity Blade that he can utilize if he wants in the next turn. I do like the Jozu play after seeing it in action. I think it's a good one, and we'll see how the Luffy responds on this. Could play Kuzan down again to draw another card, right? Once again, replace itself in the hand and forces the opponent to play another Jozu or things of that nature. But maybe is thinking of playing first the Flampe. The Flampe is going to be nice, going to put you down to 1 life and also draw a card. It's essentially a draw 2 character. Very, very good in this deck. Finds Raigo and another Kuzan right here. So goes in and hard plays the Luffy. The Luffy is going to go ahead and put him down to 0 and draw a card on top of that. You got to be careful on the 0, because with only 2 Dawn left, now you're going in and using leader effect, right? Pitching a card and putting 2 characters inside the life. Goes ahead, because they had that baby Luffy on the field, goes ahead and plays down that Sabo blocker, gives protection to everything in the hand, and draws 2 cards. Going to be really nice. And also with the Luffy right there in the life, going to be nice to stabilize at 1 and put yourself as a 7,000 power leader. It's going to cost a lot of Dawn to be able to swing at you with these different 5,000s on the board. Kind of makes you think that only Jozu and leader are going to be sitting on the board, and fulfilling the 7,000 power swing, or I'm sorry, 9,000 power swing. I wish they had markers for their power boost, but 9,000 power swing is going to take that life, go down to 3, and draw a Jinbei for a turn. So that's all 4 Jinbeis now that we've seen in this game. The other 2 at the bottom of the deck, the bottom 12 to 14 cards or so, I would say, with all the Sengoku searches. So probably not going to see any more for the rest of this game, and decides to just go ahead and play Gravity Blade. Gravity Blade's so good in this matchup, right? Being able to put those guys at the bottom of the deck forces the Black Yellow Luffy to not be able to cycle them throughout the rest of this game. It's going to be a huge strong point, and only 2 Dawn left. What exactly do you do? Do you maybe try to establish something like Martial D Teach with that black The Teach is going to come down, use that effect. We'll see if he swings like a 7/7 with the Jozu and leader. Although you don't get leader effect, you would be able to fetch 2 cards out of the hand, but this Jozu swing for 9 is going to be what is coming out. And as a 7,000 power leader, all you need is a 2K, 1K, and that's exactly what he's going to do. That Sabo promo, right? Promo 73 with that activate main once per turn. You may put the top or bottom of your life cards in your hand, and this character gains 1,000 power. Is a nice 2K that you can evolve into. So just gives another option for this Black Yellow Luffy. Now at a full 10 Dawn, is going to be going in and potentially using leader effect later. Does have to go in and use this Luffy first. Is going to rest 2 Dawn. Play this Luffy down, evolve into this Egghead Luffy. I'm never going to get that right. The Egghead Luffy, and takes out the Teach. Very interesting strategy. Very good in my opinion, because Teach continuously mobilizes the Doflamingo game plan, right? Giving Rested Dawn to a leader character, putting something on the top of life to use off of leader effect. The Jinbei and Law, especially once you continuously hit 9,000 power, is it really gonna matter on those characters? I do agree. I think that the Teach is more valuable in this matchup and in this situation. The only thing the Black Yellow Luffy is missing right now are the Gecko Morias at this point. So another 9,000 power swing, takes a life, goes down to 2, and is going to go ahead and Raigo right now. So Raigo's that Jozu, goes back to a 7,000 power leader, and is going to use this Kuzan for the leader effect to put 2 guys back in the life. You don't have any blockers at this point, but putting the 2 Luffys is nice. You don't really need Luffys at this point. It's not imperative. I don't know if you have many other options besides that Sabo, right, that we saw hit the trash earlier. We're going to pass it off to the Doflamingo. Both players now at 10 Dawn. Jozu, you play Jozu, you're not really picking back up one of your opponent's characters at this point, but might be able to put back up your own character if you would like on this one. So is going to attach to Dawn, is going to start going ahead and swinging a little bit wider. Attach to swing 7 is going to fetch a 1K on that Garp. 2 more on the Jinbei potentially to fetch another card, or maybe bottom deck that Luffy in the life. Does have a little bit of counter to work with right now at this point. Doesn't seem like they want to get rid of the Rocket Luffy. Does have a couple non-counters and uses a 2K Hiyori at this point. So the 2K Hiyori is very interesting. Could maybe trying to feint that they don't have any counter in hand, while in actuality, they just don't have counter that they want to get rid of, right? They don't want to get rid of the babies. They're so essential to your game plan, especially when you don't have a Gecko in your hand. And is going to go ahead, round out the turn with a Jinbei Boa. This Jinbei Boa is going to force the Doflamingo to swing 8 at this point, and the 8 is probably going to bottom deck one of the Luffys, I would say. So is going to go ahead, attach that one there, attach one more, and maybe actually use leader effect. You did get to reorder off of that top 3, so putting down another body on the field is going to make you able to go wide in the next turn. So 7,000 power is just going to command a 1K. Is potentially thinking about pitching this Rocket Luffy, right, and maybe on the next turn go ahead and use doubles baby Luffy to go in and loop these egghead Luffys that he's got in his life with 2 life left. Also, I think just pulled a Flampe at this point, and one of the things that you can do on this play, right, clear board a little bit, but also draw a card. Remember that not only does that Luffy KO one of the 4 costs on the field, it also draws a card after it. So that card could be nice, help you find a Gecko, and now attaching 2 on there. We'll see if he plays down 2 more. Looks like he pulled a Sabo on that draw, and 3 Brothers Bond is going to be played first. Finds a couple babies, finds the Sabo baby. Sabo baby is going to be nice, right? You can cycle a blocker potentially at the later stages of the game, maybe proactively play one down if you want. And now with the 2, go in with the baby Luffy, I believe. So then you can go in then and evolve and clear another body off the field, right? But he's going to play one first. There's going to be another Three Brothers bond. So we haven't seen a Gecko yet, an 8-cost Gecko. And there's one right there. One of the 4 that's in the deck. The first one that we've seen. And I think maybe it was the top card of the deck. So if you played the Luffy first, I think it was the top card of the deck. If he played the Luffy first, I think he would have been able to have a Gecko in hand, but you're just going to have to survive and live with it. A little 1-drop Capone Beige from OP10. Another one of the interesting tech cards within this list, right? Another Supernova card. 2K counter for your deck. Does have good synergies, being able to put a Supernova in your life on the top of life. And guess what? Your 5-cost ST13 Punch Luffy, as I'll call it, is a Supernova type character, so does work well with that. Does have a little bit more Dawn to work with, is going to go ahead and swing 11, I think maybe at life for one of these characters. I'm not 100% sure. He just kind of motion forward, only the players know at this point where he's swinging at. And so is going to be at life, is going to be 11,000, and is going to fulfill this Luffy play right here, get this guy on the field. And we'll see if he decides to use his effect to pop the Luffy. Still unsure. Is going to go ahead, pitch the Sabo from hand in order to put Sabo and Luffy in life. You are a 9,000 power leader, right? So not a lot of swings are going to be coming at you. May leave this Luffy on the field, and he is going to leave this Luffy on the field potentially the next turn. If the Doflamingo decides to start swinging with all these characters, the Luffy is going to be able to combat these characters, right? Being able to swing and then pop itself. And popping characters, so that Luffy could get 2 birds with 1 stone, or 2 characters with 1 stone. Only Jozu can take out this Luffy, right? Remove it from the field in this hand. No more gravity blades at this time. Jozu could be nice, but you would have to pick up one of your characters. You can't go ahead and play Sengoku and then play the Jozu without removing one of your characters on the field. So, especially with how wide you are, is a little bit tricky of a situation. The Luffy being a 9,000 power leader does have a Flampe in hand, a nice 2K, and also a couple 1Ks in those Sabos. Probably, no matter what, is going to try to keep one of those Sabos in hand in case they don't draw into a Gecko like they were kind of showing on screen. Also, can we just appreciate this Doflamingo just having regular original Dawn? I feel like that's not something that we see really at all in these tournaments. Just looks so clean at this point. Anyways, I don't think it would be the worst thing right now to go ahead and play the Jozu, pick up your Crocodile at this point, but it's just going to play a 1, looks like going to be for Sengoku, is going to look at that top 5, find a 7 Warlords of the Sea, maybe a nice piece of the puzzle, is thinking about the Buggy just gathering a bunch of 2Ks. At this point, you know that that leader swing is going to be huge every single time it comes down. So what else do you do at this point? Do you play your Jozu over the Sengoku right now? I think that's what he's leaning towards. But first is going to go ahead and play another one. And it looks like it's going to be another Sengoku. So just going to be doing a bunch of searching. Could be interesting to see if he takes a 2K in the Crocodile, or Buggy is just going to go with the Crocodile at this point and just gaining a ton of counter. We've seen this Black Hill Luffy just swing at life, right? He just swings at life with leader every single turn, is kind of ignoring the characters in the battle and plays over the Jinbei. The Jinbei is going to go ahead, pick up the Sengoku, have them, or I'm sorry, the Jozu is going to pick up the Sengoku and pick up the Luffy on that side. Your Croc stays on the field and is going to use that Sengoku to find just another 2K counter. So 3 times we've seen a Sengoku played and 3 2Ks. That's 6K worth of counter in the hand alone just from that turn. And he's got 5 in total in the hand right now. Doflamingo, one of those decks that you can get caught with a lot of non-counter, right, with Boa, Jinbei, Gravity Blade, Perfume Femur, and a couple other cards potentially that don't have counter on it. So what do you do at this point? I think top decking a Gecko, getting that Gecko, is going to have to use the 2 to grab a Luffy and Sabo. Unfortunately, does not have 2 Sabos to utilize, but is going to go in now, continue with the Lupin, absolutely clutch top deck, I would say, and is going to go in with the Luffys right now. May think about popping this Luffy. I would say at this point the Luffy could get bottom decked again, although I don't know if you're super worried about that as much because you have so many in the trash. But first, before you do pop the Luffy, you want to see what you get off the Sabo draw. So going in and drawing finds just two 2Ks in a Capone Beige and the Hiyori, right? We do know that the first Capone was bottom decked not too long ago, actually, by a Three Brothers Bond. So playing multiple copies of that in this list. We'll see how much he values the 2Ks in hand, has a couple baby Sabos, but maybe thinking about just pitching this double 2K that he drew, or maybe a 1-1 split of some sort. In this matchup, you want to keep getting back up to 9,000 power, right? So what is the strategy that gets you there? Is going to go in with the Capone and the Sabo, and we'll see what he decides to do through the leader effect, putting any characters down on the field, or in the life, I should say. But is first going to swing 11 at lead. We'll see if the Doflamingo decides to go down to 0 life or pitch all that counter that they had in hand. Could be an interesting situation. You don't have a way to get rid of this Gecko that's not a red rock, so you got to be thinking in the future, what in their next turn is their best play possible? What could they possibly do? Are they playing Rush Ace? That's something that's been on and off inside Black Hill. Luffy in the last couple months decides to take it, and using that Hiyori to pitch to put those two in life. Just pitch, in my opinion, two cards that you don't need, right? You don't really need the Sabo, you don't really need the Luffy at this point, so might as well just put them in life. Not going to get bottom decked with one blocker on the field. Gonna be really tough, I think, for this Doflamingo. You do have a Jozu on the field, which is very nice, right? Jozu is going to be your best character and best card on the field to be able to compete with Black Yellow Luffy, but it's going to be at least 4 Dawn to invest to swing with anything else that you've got on this field, right? Everything else being 5,000 characters. That's why the looping effect is so strong in Black Yellow Luffy, especially in this matchup. Is thinking about playing another Jozu. You do have one more in hand that you can go in, but you have to get rid of a character. Who knows if the other character that you're going to put back is on your side or their side. Could be on your side. I don't think I would hate it, right, if you picked up like the Crocodile and Law, because you need a lot of counter, but you also need a ton of swings. So is going to be going ahead and saying, you know what, pick up the Luffy. It is another counter in your hand, but what it is going to do is keep one of these 5,000 characters on the field, at least at this point. So awkward spot right now. Plenty of counter in hand now that you just picked up another 2K. It looks like just going to be stacking the bodies, maybe playing down this Weevil to draw a card. It's going to be a Boa, which is a brick, trading a brick for a brick, but being a 6,000 power body in that Edward Weevil, you're going to be able to compete a little bit easier than the 5,000. So attaching all 19 to Gecko is going to go ahead and swing, and he says, you know what, especially with that Sabo blocker, especially with the Luffy leader, I got no way to win this game. And so does give up on that one, does give the win to Black Yellow Luffy, and Black Yellow Luffy advances into the final. We're going to have a rematch in the finals guaranteed, because the other top 4 match was a Dofi mirror match, and we'll see if Black Yellow Luffy can replicate the success that it had in this game. But first, before we do anything, let's look at the deck lists of these two players. So here's the Doflamingo's list from this tournament. I believe we looked at this list in one of the previous videos because we saw Ambato there, the Doflamingo player, playing in the previous round. I believe has a little bit different of a list than what we see sometimes with the two Kayas. That's really the big difference in a lot of the lists that you see. Sometimes Kaya is played as a 1, sometimes it's played as 2, right? An excellent 2K, one of the best blue 2Ks just in general overall, kind of fits in almost every archetype available in blue at least some point or another. We even saw the strength of the Kaya right in the previous video, in the Shanks video, being able to draw 2, trash 2, pitch 2 of your bricks for 2 cards that you draw with counter on it can make a world of a difference. 3 Gravity Blade, I would say, is a little bit on the heavier side of Gravity Blades that I've seen. Usually I've just seen 2 of them in a lot of different lists, sometimes just 1, but working out for Amato in this tournament for sure, with a full play set of Jozu as well. Jozu being a fringe card here in the East and the West. Now, Blackgill Luffy, this player having a bit more of a unique deck list, I would say. A couple different cards. I talked about them both in this video, but I'll go over them if you don't know their official text. This Beige from OP10 is a great 2K to have within this deck. An excellent 1-drop in a set of 1-drops that you have as Blackgill Luffy to be able to manipulate your life, right? On play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and then add a character with a type supernova from your hand to the top of your life cards face up, especially as I mentioned with this Luffy from starter deck 13 being a supernova type, especially against some of the slower decks, the slower matchups. Could be really nice to evolve or use the baby Luffy's activate main effect to get this guy and cheat him out on the field to be able to continue to draw more cards, be an 8,000 power character that's swinging. Is very strong in a lot of situations, even though the only supernova card that you have in this deck, I believe there's no other supernovas. Just this card being so influential in a couple different matchups is that much worth to play this guy down. Also, the other tech card is this Sabo, right? We've seen a couple influxes of different Sabos within this deck, this archetype, the blocker Sabo being the most prominent one and best one, I would say. But this being another great 2K that you can have, right? You can find it off of Three Brothers Bond, which is why I love the inclusion of this in the deck. It is a 5 cost as well, so you can evolve into it through your baby Sabos that you have. And also, if some things are getting dire, right, you can use the activate main to give this character plus 1,000 for a battle to try to clear out a body and also take away some of your life to try to hit that coveted 0. Does not cost any Dawn to be able to use this effect. It's just an activate main once per turn. Is nice for a lot of niche and dire situations, I would say. But for the most part, outside of that, a pretty standard list, I would say. Not really running the aces or even some Makinos as well. Makino kind of being replaced with the Beige in here. And curious to see the Beige and Sabo additions, right? While still running 3 Kuzans, 3 Raigos, 4 Three Brothers Bonds. A very neat deck in general overall. I do really like this iteration of the deck. I think Beige is a super cool inclusion. I just hope that here in the West we can get this pretty easily. I don't think it's too easy to get these. Can we get these? But that's going to be all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, the finals will be out tomorrow, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. Also, if you want to see the future EBO2 set review that we've got coming on the channel, make sure to stick around for that. I think all the cards have been revealed for EBO2, or at least a vast majority of them. I think I'm still going through the numbered list, but I'm pretty sure all of them have been revealed up to this point, so we can talk about them. We will open the set here on the channel during the release time, so if you want to see some of those cards opened as well, make sure to go check out us for that and any of the other videos that we've got on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. This video is too long, and I'll see you later.